we've made a very good habit of like just doing just enough, you know?
Kind of the way I live life.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, we don't put a lot of effort into these, we do just enough. Is it recording? So now you're gonna play this in the video. Perfect. Welcome to Just Enough. This is quantity over quality. Yeah. That's what this is. Anyway, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Hope you like that introduction. Today we are going to be discussing my dually, which some of us know as Miss Jackson. You want the history behind Miss Jackson? So we did my turbo truck, we called Material Girl. Just because I'm a fan of Madonna. It's good music, good upbeat listening to, fun in the shop. And so I had a joke about calling it Material Girl, and Scott Nelson over at Rev B said that's a killer name and it's gonna stick, so that's what stuck. Moving on, sticking with the pop theme, we've got a darker skinned, but still fair skinned, with some wide hips and a big butt. So we're gonna call this one Miss Jackson after Janet. So you can call it Janet, you can call it Miss Jackson, you can call it Janet Jackson, whatever the hell she says in her song, it's Miss Jackson if you wish or something. I don't know, we're rambling. Let's get into the truck itself. We're all gonna make this story a little bit longer though. So there's gonna be some more B-roll and I'm gonna talk over the B-roll, but just to get you started. Had a dually way back when that I built for my buddy Mike Baldwin. He's out in Texas, but we built one for him. I drove it around for a little bit, and this is going back before Tray 5 was a shop. So I built it at my house. Always loved the dualies. I had a crew cab long bed 4-wheel drive OBS that I drove for a while, but I've always wanted a dually. And Frank and I started talking about dualies. Frank and I started talking about dualies, and he wanted to get one. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll get one. Frank bought one from Preston and the guys at Horizon Motorsports, Preston and Rick. At the same time, I was negotiating a deal on this one, which was on Facebook Marketplace out in, somebody in the comments can correct me, but Phelon or Felon or Felon or Phelan or something, just like meth mouth capital of California, up in the hills somewhere. And saw an ad for this truck. It looked super straight. Didn't look like it had all the faded paint and everything, but he said the head gasket was blown. So I told him I would risk it, come out there with the trailer and see if we could grab it out of the dirt that it was sunk into by his single wide trailer that was connected to another single wide trailer by like a makeshift deck, and there was pit bulls everywhere. And I called Scott Nelson again, and he decided that he wanted to go with me for some crazy reason. So Scott and I went out there, and it wasn't as pretty as we thought, but I'd made the deal and looked good enough. So we spent about 2 or 3 hours trying to drag this thing on the trailer with my 15,000 pound winch out of the dirt, which we had to drive my truck and trailer through like a weed field and hope that there was nothing in it. And it was just it was fun. Let's put it that way. We got the front tires up on the trailer, and then we finally realized that the e-brake was still on, and that's why the axle was dragging. So I thought, well, maybe the axle's just seized. I got to pull it apart to narrow it anyway, or I got to put a different one in it out of a fleet side, which is what we ended up doing. So I wasn't concerned about being locked up, but it never dawned on either of us to check the e-brake. So e-brake was on. All 6 tires were flat. We tried to air some up, didn't hold air. Some of them did, some of them didn't. Anyway, it was just a long, drawn-out nightmare. So Happy with my purchase though, because didn't pay a lot for it. And got it back to the shop, and the goal was to replace the head gaskets, but I knew I was going to lay it out, so might as well pull the engine. That way I can clean up under the engine bay, and I can clean up the engine and make it look pretty under the hood. So pull the engine, pull the heads, and it's not the head gasket. There was a hole in the side of the block, but it went like in towards the middle engine. Normally you see them blow out towards the out, and you can see that. Obviously we looked for that before we bought the truck, but couldn't see that because it was actually internally through the cylinder wall. So called up Sean Kelly over at Kelly's Machine. He got on the hunt for a factory 454 block out of this body style truck. I know there's a couple different 454s, and I'm not an extra special expert on them, so I relied on Sean over there to help me out. Got a block, brought this block on heads and everything over to him, and they blew all of it apart. This truck only had 40,000-ish miles when I got it. So other than one cylinder, the engine was only 40,000 miles. It was brand new. So we pulled the crank and the rods, and 7 out of 8 rods out of it, reused those, bored the cylinders 30 over, so new pistons, did a head job on it, but all the factory cam and rockers and push rods and all that fun stuff is all still the 40,000 mile stuff on here. We just replaced what had to be replaced. The only upgrade that I did to the engine is I changed the injectors. So anybody that's owned one of these trucks, once they hit a certain amount of usage, they get a little shaky shake at idle. Doesn't really affect it under throttle, but at idle they shake. Did some research, found that the fix is some injectors that are meant for like a Ford Explorer or something crazy like that. So swapped out the injectors, painted the engine, powder coated a bunch of parts. We'll tell you about that when we get in there. But I figured you'd appreciate the story because shit's not always perfect. Bought it basically sight unseen, drove out there, saw it before I bought it. I could have bailed on the deal, but we drove like 6 hours to go get it. And I like a challenge. So anyway, there's the backstory. Let's go over the process. So, like I said, pulled the engine, got the engine rebuilt. While the engine was out, and at the same time we were building Frank's dually, I ordered all the parts for it. So we have Michigan Metal Works control arms up front. They convert the dually spindle to a 3/4 ton spindle, so the arm gets a lot longer, gives you a much better camber curve. So, and you don't have to lift the upper control arms like you do on the half tons. So we have Michigan Metal Works tubular, not the flat plate ones, so tubular upper and lower control arms. We have fleet side spindles, hubs, brakes, stock, but for a 3/4 ton fleet side. Slam Specialties SS8 bags all around. So that takes care of the front suspension. Rear suspension is a setup that I've done previously in the past. We've now just done it 3 times lately because we just did Frank's dually, my dually, and then we did a dually for Shane as well. Almost back to back to back. But basically it is a triangulated upper link that's off-centered so that we can bend it around the gas tank. And then we do straight lower links, but they're at an angle. So you see a lot of these guys will build bent lower links so that they go around the frame rails and stuff, and clear the tires. But I like straight. Straight is strong. We run them at an angle, but they're straight tubes, so there's no weak point in the bend or anything like that on the lower links. Just a thing that makes us a little bit different than some of the kits out there. Upper link goes to the factory gas tank cross member, but we pocket into it and have a brace and do all kinds of fun things. And then, like I said up front, we have the same bags out back. So SS8. The axle itself, for those who don't know, on these OBS dualies, a couple ways you can do it. You can narrow the factory axle, and you can actually take the shorter axle, put it on the long side, and then buy one new axle. So that's kind of an inexpensive way to do it. Or if you had recently worked on a 3/4 ton fleet side Suburban or truck, it's the same axle, but narrower. So you still get the bolt-in semi-floater, I call it. Some people might call it a full float. To me, it's not a full float because you're bolting the thing in. So it's a semi-float to me. So that axle is a direct replacement as far as wheel and tire fitment, as far as drive shaft fitment, everything else, you know, is obviously we're welding all the suspension on. So what else? Air management. Air management we have in the back here, which you can't see. So I'm just gonna stand back here because it's easy for me to talk about it back here. Underneath here, we have a bolt-on plate. So it bolts on from the underside. So we don't have a hole in the bed, anything like that. There is a plate that bolts on from the underside. Holds two AccuAir endo tanks. One is just a tank, meaning there's nothing inside of it. The other one is a valve tank, or endo VT. Excuse me. The VT, or the valve tank, has valves, 2 on each side. So the nice thing about that, for those of you that don't know, no more exterior valves, external valves, exterior valves, whatever you want to call them. So it saves a ton of plumbing, saves a ton of chances for leaks. You just stick your air line in the side of the tank, stick your air line in the bag, and you're all done. So we like that. We did 2 Viair 425C compressors. We only did 2 on this truck because we did an engine-driven compressor. I'll show you that when we get up front. And then we have our battery mounts that we make for these platforms. They bolt to where the factory rear hanger mount goes. Bolts right in, holds the batteries we like to run. So we have one of those on each side. And then you can see, since we're talking about suspension, this is kind of suspension. The factory wheel tubs have been widened, so they've been brought in, and then the whole floor has been brought up. So normally there is a much bigger, like this line is normally down here, but I think it's about 9 inches or so that we raise these things. So it still looks very factory. I still wanted some hooks in here, so we made some provisions to mount so that this isn't just sheet metal. So made some provisions behind the bed, and then bolted these nice little Amazon Find tow hooks in here. So if I want to put my bicycle in here or coolers in here, I can actually strap it down. And then since we're back at the bed, let's just keep going bed stuff. So we have an LS Fab hinge on, or this is their hydraulic gas strut that slows the tailgate from dropping down too fast. So we added one of those. The rest of the stuff's factory. In the distance that we lifted the bed, you can see how much right there. We put in a pocket so we can have onboard air. We have our jumper ports, and then we have a battery kill switch. So I don't know why you would need onboard air anymore, because everybody's got cordless tools, but not, you know, like electric ones. But maybe somebody needs to air something up, tire, something like that. Another cool thing, we have a backup camera and a tailgate lock. So what I did is I bought this tailgate lock on Amazon probably, and then I drilled a hole for a backup camera in it. So now I can see before I run my new bumper into a curb. This is a smoothie bumper. I don't know what they're really called. I call it a smoothie bumper because it doesn't have the bump strip on it. Didn't even know they made these. Didn't know they made the front either. But here we are, found one. We've got smoothie front bumper, smoothie rear bumper. So no bump strips, no nothing like that. The license plate is just held in with a hitch pin. So you can actually pull the license plate out and it's in the receiver. So you can still tow with this truck. If anybody saw a couple reunions ago, we towed a trailer with the dually down there and utilized it. We only are running one license plate light because we pulled the other one out and put the trailer plug right there. So this thing is all set up to tow. You have 2-inch receiver, you got your wire plug right there, and then the cutout behind the license plate is big enough that you can put your chains through there. And you still set on the plastic, so you don't scratch a bumper. Cool. Moving onward, stock taillights. I didn't want anything crazy. Excuse some of the dirt and stuff because I drive it and I didn't wash it before this video. Clear marker lights in the dually fenders. And again, just something to note, like we talked about the narrowed axle. These are factory fenders. I mean, they're repainted, but they're not widened, they're not lifted, they're nothing. Factory. And they will fit one of the more important things that we haven't talked about yet, the Michaels Truck Works 24-inch custom cut floating caps. Also, we didn't talk about, but we did do a disc brake conversion on the rear of this thing too. again, like, this isn't our normal market, so we don't sell any of these parts, but we did make them so we can reproduce them relatively easy, but we only do it if you bring us the truck. So if you like this and you want one of these for yourself, we'd be happy to build you one with our kit, but it's not a kit that we resell. Same thing with the disc brakes. It's a weld-on bracket that we make, bolts on, or it welds on, but then it holds a new caliper and a new rotor, so it gives you the disc brakes. Neat, but not a kit. We skipped over one of the most important things. Like, the two biggest things you see on vehicles are wheels and paint, right? So we got the wheels, now we need to get the paint. This is obviously repainted. Maybe that's not obvious. It was pretty clean when we got it, but did have some waves and some dings and some scratches, and most importantly, had a lot of fading paint. So the tops of the fenders, the roof, the front fenders, they were all fading. So we basically just did a factory respray on this thing. Actually, that means Frank over at Eye Candy and his guys, did a factory respray on this. We did shave a couple things, like the stake pockets. We put in the body line that a lot of people miss. This is actually never here from the factory on the crew cabs. So Chris over at our shop made a piece that welds in right here, and then Frank and the guys body worked it. Should also point out that they did the color match bed liner on the inside. This is actually from Sweet Patina, and they do a bed liner that you can tint. So we took the same color, mixed it with the bed liner, and there you go. You got a somewhat color match bed liner. Looks a heck of a lot better than just black. We have all new weather trim. So all new weather seals, window trim, weather trim, whatever you want to call it, gaskets, felts, swipes, everything on this truck that seals the glass and the doors and the windshield and the back. It's all from Precision Replacement Products. They have a whole lineup. So these belt lines are new. These are new. The run channels are new. Everything is new. Even like the door seals in here are new. We'll get to the interior in a minute. And then we just did new headlights. So again, didn't want like the crazy eBay ones. These are mostly factory looking, except for we got rid of the full amber and just went the amber on the side. And then a smoothie front bumper. Anyway, let's pop the hood. Go inside or under the hood? Inside or under the hood? Put it in the comments. Which one do you want me to go to first? Oh, we can't read those comments yet. All right, let's just go under the hood then. All right, just keep the underside clean. Relocated the hood latch to down here so we don't have the cable running inside. Plus it gives us room for, as you'll see, some of the wiring and stuff that we put underneath the dash. First thing you'll notice, we have some wham rods on here. So that's what's holding the hood up. Can't fit those factory springs with 24s on these things. So we went to the wham rods. You just gotta trim out a little notch, bolt those on. Simple, holds the hood up nice. Again, excuse the dust and the grime because I do drive this thing occasionally and we didn't wash it again. So factory 454, other than board 30 over new injectors, but intake is powder coated, intake plenum. The valve covers are powder coated. We powder coated a bunch of brackets. We built an intake for it and powder coated that. Built some inner fenders for it. And Frank body worked and painted those. So if you think these are just trailer fenders, you're wrong. They did start that way, but they've been split, widened at the back because these trucks go like this. Like if we're standing here, they kind of go like that from the front, they pinch in. So we wanted the fenders to run straight because the tires run straight. So we had to angle them in. So the outsides stayed there, the insides came in so that they're going straight now. We also put panel on the side here to fill in any void there. And then we also extended them down so that they cover more of the tire. So even though they started as trailer fenders, they're a lot more than that at this point. You can see since you're looking over there, we did do a bare remaster master cylinder, and that is attached to the factory Hydro Boost setup. So again, that Hydro Boost is all factory lines, factory everything. You will notice if you're familiar with these trucks that it does look a little bit cleaner than factory, and that's because we tucked as many wires and cables and vacuum lines as we could. Rebraided a lot of stuff because we took the engine out. We were able to kind of clean a lot of things up. And then one big addition that you'll notice is that we have an engine-driven compressor. So this is a kit, this bracket. Oh, it's so dusty. Oh, dust. Let's clean that up a little bit. There we go. So this bracket, along with the belt and the radiator tube, is part of our engine-driven compressor kit. It's meant to mount these York air compressors. And then we have this plumbed back into our tank. So along with the two 425Cs, we have this thing running too. This is basically an old school AC pump that you convert over, and we just suck air from right here. We did a little hard line to a filter, so that way our air going into the compressor is filtered and we don't get a bunch of grime in there. And then we just did a leader hose off of the pump, so that way it's not overheating like a normal plastic line. And the cool thing is, you can just drill out and tap these existing fittings. See, these are threaded on the outside, so it's meant to have a fitting to go over it. And you can just drill and tap them for a 3/8 MPT, and it bolts right in. You can see the powder coated suspension under there. So a big thing for anybody that has one of these trucks or has built one of these trucks will notice we're missing ABS. We deleted it, got rid of it, don't need it, don't care about it. We also removed the factory fuse box and the factory computer from up here. So that's a big, again, we're talking about like little differences, but little differences can have a big effect. So like not lifting and widening the rear fenders and running our link bar straight. A big thing to notice with us is you don't have like big ugly radiator catch can. You don't have the ugly computer and the ugly fuse box. We hide all that stuff, get away with it. Go to like a nice little billet radiator overflow bottle. Uh-oh, we got guests. We just got a new subscriber, folks. So, what's up, Brian? That's Brian. He just stopped because he liked the truck. So, a lot better than the last time somebody stopped. Because the last time somebody stopped, they yelled at us, told us to get off their street, and it wasn't their street, and yada yada. But anyway, Brian, if you're watching, thanks for stopping. Thanks for the kind words. Let's get back to the truck. I don't know where we were. We were talking about this, and then we were about done. A couple little touches. We did paint the top of the new chrome grille. A lot of people missed out on that. We do have some bug or something that went right there. That's cool. And then this thing was deteriorating. Also, the radiator support, core support, whatever you want to call it, header panel. So powder coated the radiator brackets, powder coated that. Just trying to keep it like factory looking under here, but a lot cleaner. And the cool thing is, as soon as we finished it, it wasn't registered because obviously I bought it not running. So I took it over to emissions and it passed emissions on the first try. So pretty cool. So we're probably talking about a lot of things that OBS, we're probably talking about a lot of things that OBS guys already know, but dashes crack, they're toast, they're garbage. Found a new one, not brand new, but found one in good shape and installed that with one of these billet hold downs because the only cracks were like right here. So this is a custom piece. I believe LG Billet sells them now, but basically strengthens up the dash where they start to crack. So new dash in, new billet piece. I didn't do anything else billet in here. I don't know. I'm starting to like it, but it's a little bit 90s still for me, which, I mean, this is a 2000. So we're not in the 90s anymore. This is a 2000. We never said that, but this is a 2000 Chevy 3500C, 3500 dually. But the other stuff we did in here, getting back to the video, because we're rambling again, is this is a new double DIN dash piece. So we can fit our Pioneer double DIN 7-inch screen radio in there. We did the little switch to trick it to think that the e-brake's on and off so we can get into programming. And then we did a USB plug there, which we don't even really need because Steve built me a custom center console and you can put your phone right there and it charges. So that's pretty cool. We have, oh, I got a missed call from Frank Recklin. Don't look at that. We have our AccuAir touchpad here. Again, those of you that don't know, AccuAir has an all down setting. This is a program button, and then I have a low, a drive height, and a oh shit height. And then you can individually adjust the bags there, front and rear, up and down, left and right. Center console, like I said, Steve built this. We have 2 switches in here. Basically, these are for the compressors, so I can run either just the engine-driven compressor or just the electric compressors or both. Cup holders that were obviously a really tight fit because we had to trim the edge there to fit them both. And then when you don't want to see this, it goes away. So, cool little sliding cover. More storage space in here. And just to prove that we are ready to tow, we mounted the trailer brake controller inside there. And so that thing was already in the truck. It was already wired. It already worked. So we left it. Seats, factory seats. This truck, like I said, sat outside for a long time. So seats were, foam was in great condition, but the fabric was deteriorated. So Steve helped me out with some cat skins and threw those on here. They are cat skins, so they're not 100% perfect, but for the price, can't beat them. And the pattern's pretty cool. While the truck was down, we went ahead and took all the door panels off, took all the carpet out, took all the pillar pieces, A, B, C, kick panels, sill plates, headliner, sun visors, all this upper stuff. We took it all out, gave it all to Steve so he could wrap it because obviously, just like the seats deteriorating, the headliner was falling down. So pulled all that out, fixed all the sun visors. So we have no more mirrors, but they're all rewrapped in suede. Headliner's all suede, even wrapped the side of the upper console in suede. You may notice we have our rear view mirror in here because it's way cooler than the factory one. So we just replaced the factory rear view mirror with our really nice looking one. Floor mats. If Steve's watching this video, these are the absolute best floor mats that anyone could ever have. And I'm just going based off of how long it took to get them. So if you've watched any of our videos, shop update videos and things like that, you've noticed that I've kept telling everybody that we were going to do a shop or a wrap-up video on the dually as soon as we got floor mats. So we finally did get floor mats. There was no rush for them. I just like to give Steve shit. So we did get floor mats now. But also while the door panels were off, that's when we redid all the seals after paint. We put new speakers. So a lot of this stuff I actually did myself just to kill time and save money. So I put speakers in the doors. They're a component set. They're Scar audio. Our hair cutting guy, barber, George, used a whole bunch of that stuff on his motorcycle, so I wanted to try it out. So we have a component set in the doors, so we actually still have a separate tweeter. And then again, for the OBS guys that know, there's no speakers in the rear doors normally. They're normally all the way up here in these pillars. But since we rewrapped the pillars in suede, I rewired the doors, so the doors now have speakers in what looks to be a factory location that didn't have them. You can see we have the same cat skins covers with the same cool pattern. And then we wrapped all this stuff in suede as well. And we even built a sub box in the back. So we have 2 12-inch JLs, one on either side. Didn't care to make it like super show offy. It's not a show truck. It's something I can drive all the time. Look at that floor mat. Boy, I tell you what. And because I have kids, we even have a plug in the back so that the kids can plug their phones in. And the last 2 times I've driven this truck, I had both my kids in it. So it actually does get used. Look at the billet steering wheel with the custom wrap. And look at the mileage. That is actual mileage on the truck itself. And one last really cool touch that you're not going to probably see in this video unless Brian does a really good job filming it. The roof is actually the same color as the sides, but Frank and I had some fun and we threw some gold mini micro flake in it. So we've had a couple people notice it out in the wild, but it can really be seen in the sun. And it's a pretty cloudy day today. So that's it. That was a long one, but this is my truck, so made it a little longer. And it has a cool story behind it. Like normally customers will tell me, oh yeah, my dad owned this, or I bought it from my neighbor or whatever, and we get a little backstory, but I have the whole backstory on this one because it's mine. and it's not for sale. I'm sure I'll sell it one day. We've got one guy that has first dibs on it, so unfortunately, if it ever does come for sale, it'll probably be sold in an hour. But for now, I'm going to enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Sorry I rambled a lot, but we're going to go do some more rolling shots, so cue those. Bye. Brian's gonna edit that out, I'm sure. So